So I think we're ready. Everyone looks ready. The Buddha then said to the Venerable Mahakatyayana, Katyayana, go to the Lichavi Vimalakirti to inquire about his illness. Katyayana replied, Lord, I am indeed reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness. Why? Lord, I remember one day when after the Lord had given some brief instructions to the monks, I was defining the expressions of that discourse by teaching the meaning of impermanence, suffering, selflessness, and peace. And the Lichavi Vimalakirti came there and said to me, Reverend Mahakatyayana Yayana, do not teach an ultimate reality endowed with activity, production, and destruction. Reverend Mahakatyayana, nothing was ever destroyed, is destroyed, or will ever be destroyed. Such is the meaning of impermanence, the meaning of realization of birthlessness through the realization of the voidness of the five aggregates is the meaning of suffering. The fact of the non-duality of self and selflessness is the meaning of selflessness. That which has no intrinsic substance and no other sort of substance does not burn. And what does not burn is not extinguished. Such lack of extinction is the meaning of peace.
When he had discoursed thus, the minds of the monks were liberated from their defilements and entered a state of non-grasping. Therefore, Lord, I am reluctant to go to that good man and inquire about his illness. The Buddha then said to the Venerable Aniruddha, go to the Lichavi Vimalakirti to inquire about his illness. My lord, I am indeed reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness. Why? I remember, Lord, one day when I was taking a walk, the great Brahma named Subhutahavana and the 10,000 other Brahmas who accompanied him illuminated the place with their radiance, and having bowed their heads at my feet, withdrew to one side and asked me, Reverend Aniruddha, you have been proclaimed by the Buddha to be the foremost among those who possess the divine eye. To what distance does the divine vision of the Venerable Aniruddha extend? I answered, friends, I see the entire billion world galactic universe of the Lord Sakya Muni just as plainly as a man of ordinary vision sees the myrobalan nut on the palm of his hand. When I had said these words, the Lichavi Vimalakirti came there and, having bowed his head at my feet, said to me, Reverend Aniruddha, is your divine eye compounded in nature, or is it uncompounded in nature? If it is compounded in nature, it is the same as the super knowledges of the outsiders. If it is uncompounded in nature, then it is not constructed, and as such is incapable of seeing. Then how do you see, O elder?
Donna, did you want to read?
At those words, I became speechless. And Brahma also was amazed to hear this teaching from the good man. Having bowed to him, he said, Who then in the world possesses the divine eye? Vimalakirti Vimalakirti answered, "In the world, it is the Buddhas who have the divine eye. They see all the Buddha fields without even leaving their state of concentration and without being affected by duality." Having heard these words, the 10,000 Brahmas were inspired with high resolve and conceived the spirit of unexcelled, perfect alignment. Having paid homage and respect both to me and to the good man, they disappeared. As for me, I remain speechless, and therefore I am reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness.
The Buddha then said to the Venerable Upali, Upali, go to the Lashavi Vimalakirti to inquire about his illness. Upali replied, Lord, I am indeed reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness. Why? Lord, I remember that one day there were two monks who had committed some infraction and were too ashamed to appear before the Lord. So they came to me and said, Reverend Upali, we have both committed an infraction, but are too ashamed to appear before the Buddha. Venerable Upali, kindly remove our anxieties by absolving us of these infractions. Lord, while I was giving those two monks some religious discourse, the Lichavi Vimalakirti came there and said to me, Reverend Upali, do not aggravate further the sins of these two monks. Without perplexing them, relieve their remorse. Reverend Upali, sin is not to be apprehended within or without, or between the two. Why? The Buddha has said living beings are afflicted by the passions of thought, and they are purified by the purification of thought. Reverend Upali, the mind is neither within nor without, nor is it to be apprehended between the two. Sin is just the same as the mind, and all things are just the same as sin. They do not escape this same reality.
Reverend Upali, this nature of the mind, by virtue of which your mind, Reverend, is liberated, does it ever become afflicted? Never, I replied. Reverend Upali, the minds of all living beings have that very nature. Reverend Upali, conceptualization is total affliction, and not conceptualizing and not discriminating is their true nature. Misapprehension is total affliction, and non-misapprehension is their true nature. The presumption of self is total affliction, and selflessness is their true nature. Reverend Upali, all things are without production, destruction, and duration. Like magical illusions, clouds and lightning, all things are evanescent, not remaining even for an instant. All things are like dreams, hallucinations, and unreal visions. All things are like the reflection of the moon in water, and like a mirror image. They are born of mental construction. Those who know this are called the true upholders of the discipline, and those disciplined in that way are indeed well disciplined.
Then the two monks said, the householder is extremely well endowed with wisdom. The Reverend Upali, who was proclaimed by the Lord as the foremost of the upholders of the discipline, is not his equal. I then said to the two monks, do not entertain the notion that he is a mere householder. Why? With the exception of the Tathagata himself, there is no disciple or bodhisattva capable of competing with his eloquence or rivaling the brilliance of his wisdom. Thereupon the two monks, delivered from their anxieties and inspired with a high resolve, conceived the spirit of unexcelled, perfect enlightenment. Bowing down to that good man, they made the wish, may all living beings attain eloquence such as this. Therefore, I am reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness. I'm going to stop for a second and ask
Sure.
what that meant back there where they said, hold on, I took a picture of it. It may just be the vocabulary they're using, but I'm a little confused by what they mean when they say sin is just the same as the mind.
So, yeah, that's, I mean, everything to me, this refers to what he says later on about everything is like a dream, is like an illusion. That it is part of the mind and it's a product of discrimination. And he was talking about discrimination and conceptualization is total affliction. Sin is just the same as the mind, and all things are just the same as sin. That's what I take it to mean, that it's not separate. It's not something that is different than everything else, and everything is occurring in the mind. That's my take on it. I'm interested to hear what other people have to say. Cassie.
What was coming up for me was the language here, I think, is very difficult. But what I'm trying to grasp is that the idea of sin is all our constructed thoughts, everything I think. Everything I think takes me away from or separates me from actual connection in that moment. And so everything I'm thinking is constructed thoughts about things. And so that is the definition of sin, because it has removed me from actually encountering the person in front of me, the life in front of me, the leaf in front of me, whatever is that really happening. But the language, I mean, I was just kind of spinning with the language on all of this of misconception is total affliction and non-misconception is their true misapprehension. Misapprehension is total affliction and non-misapprehension is their true nature. I wish they could come up with a different way of saying that sentence so that it wasn't non-misapprehension. I mean, why don't we say what is non-misapprehension? Like, what would be a word that didn't have a negative in front of it that would imply that?
I think from the standpoint of language, this is definitely a roller coaster ride, and the price of a ticket is expensive. It does send your head around in circles. But my original leaning, studies, whatever, attempts at understanding Buddhism, there was no such concept of sin the way we understand sin according to Western religions and Western mindsets. That Buddhism didn't define sin in that fashion. But listening to this, it makes me think, because of what he's correlating it to, it's in the mind, is that it might mean unskillful action. And unskillful action and skillful action is a function of the mind. So that's how I'm trying to absorb that without getting seasick on these words. I don't know if that resonates for anyone else or even makes sense.
Yeah, so sometimes we see Judeo-Christian words being inserted into when it's translated, and that's how I'm taking sin. But these guys had broken some precept or some of the rules for monks. And, but then also there's the emptiness part of the mind, that these are both empty, sin in the mind. But I think it probably leads us astray, where it's not the Judeo-Christian sin. I think it's just kind of a word for breaking the rules, going against the rules for monks.
Melissa, was it you that was talking about the when other languages use the non-word or the not word in front of something? Would you remind me of what that
Yeah.
was again?
Well, I can't remember exactly what I said.
Well, she was asking Melissa.
She can tell you.
She was asking Melissa, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not that I mind somebody else doing. That in other languages, sometimes for emphasis, you can say not, or have more than one negative in front of the word or the phrase to indicate that it really isn't at all. So it's for emphasis. But in English, if you have two negatives together, then that turns it into a positive, just like in science. So you've got two negatives that makes a positive. And so sometimes when we look at something that is repeated that way, for us who are not used to the other way of using the word no or not, we think that when there's more than one, that it's it's just shouldn't be there, or there are two of them, so it negates each other. But what it really is, it's emphasizing the concept that to the negative. That is my very mild understanding of such things. And I think I think you all are correct about sin not meaning what it means to us. It seems to me that in a lot of this, sin is really taking your mind or your actions away from the way, if that makes sense. That it's instead of focusing on the person in front of you or the non thing that you're supposed to be thinking about, you start thinking about the details of all this stuff, or somebody did something wrong. I mean, I think he's doing it as as he's talking about Vimalakirti, rather than, he just came. He doesn't want to have anything to do with him because he reminded him that he's paying too much attention to what he shouldn't pay attention to, which causes things to go awry, and you lose your ability to achieve the next thing. That didn't make a whole lot of sense.
More sense than what this is.
Exactly.
Sterling, did you have something? Yeah.
I may make even less sense, but could you scroll back up, please? A little bit more. There you go. So to me, what grabbed my attention on this is when he says, Reverend Dupali, all things are without production, destruction, and duration, like magical illusions, clouds, and lightning. All things are evanescent, not remaining even for an instant. All things are like dreams, hallucinations, and unreal visions. This, all things are like the reflection of the moon in water and like a mirror image. They are born of mental construction. So to me, what this says is that our bodies, they will decay and disappear. Our minds, they will not. because they are part of something that doesn't have it doesn't have a substance that can die and be born. It just exists. And because the sin, anything that we think, anything that we decide, anything that we dream of, it all lives in the mind. In that aspect, if we do something, if we think something that is what they consider sin, like what Melissa was saying, something that takes you away from, that it distracts you from what you're supposed to be thinking about, for example, that is all part of the mind, the good thoughts and the bad thoughts, the light and the darkness in the mind. It is a whole, but it's not part of, it doesn't have something that can be burned like it says somewhere else, so it cannot be destroyed. And that's how I'm taking it.
Shall we go on?
Sure.
I think I'm next.
Yes.
The Buddha, isn't this where we are, then said to the Venerable Rahula,
Yes.
Rahula, go to Lavachi Vimalakirti to inquire about his illness. Rahula replied, Lord, I am indeed reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness. Why? Lord, I remember that one day many young Lavachi gentlemen came to the place where I was and said to me, Reverend Rahula, you are the son of the Lord, and having renounced a kingdom of a universal monarch, you have left the world. What are the virtues and benefits you saw in leaving the world?
As I was teaching them properly the benefits and virtues of renouncing the world, the Kiva Vimalakirti came there and, having greeted me, said, Reverend Rahula, you should not teach the benefits and virtues of renunciation in the way that you do. Why? Renunciation is itself the very absence of virtues and benefits. Reverend Rahula, one may speak of benefits and virtues in regard to compounded things, but renunciation is uncompounded. And there can be no question of benefits and virtues in regard to the uncompounded. Reverend Rahula, renunciation is not material, but is free of matter. It is free of the extreme views of beginning and end. It is the path of liberation. It is praised by the wise, embraced by the noble ones, and causes the defeat of all Marias. It liberates from the 5 states of existence, purifies the 5 eyes, cultivates the 5 powers, and supports the 5 spiritual faculties. Renunciation is totally harmless to others and is not adulterated with evil things. It disciplines the outsiders, transcending all denominations. It is the bridge over the swamp of desire, without grasping and free of the habits of I and mine. It is without attachment and without disturbance, eliminating all commotion. It disciples one's own mind and protects the mind of others. It favors mental quiescence and stimulates transcendental analysis. It is irreproachable in all respects, and so is called renunciation. Those who leave the mundane in this way are called truly renunciant. Young men renounce the world in the light of this clear teaching. The appearance of the Buddha is extremely rare. Human life endowed with leisure and opportunity is very hard to obtain. To be human to be human being is very precious.
The young men complained, but householder, we have heard the Tathagata declare that one should not renounce the world without the permission of one's parents. Vimalakirti answered, young men, you should cultivate yourselves intensively to conceive the spirit of unexcelled, perfect enlightenment. That in itself will be your renunciation and high ordination. Thereupon, 32 of the Lakavi Jews received the spirit of the unexcelled, perfect enlightenment. Therefore, Lord, I am reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness.
My dog is barking, so I'm going to skip and go to Cassie.
So can I ask,
Wait, does Malen want to read too?
I thought
No,
she
well,
said
Lynn
no
put
in
in
the
chat
notes.
that she didn't want to read.
Oh, okay.
but can I ask a question? I've noticed a pattern that I'm just wondering about. So whenever Vimalakirti comes to whomever is teaching, and then he says what he's going to say, and then everybody attains enlightenment. But the teacher, or the reverend, or the whatever, I don't understand. Have they already achieved enlightenment, or is part of this whole issue with Vimalakirti that everybody around them does and they don't, even after his teaching? I'm wondering about that. There's always the people whom the person who's supposed to go ask Vimalakirti about his health is working with. When then Vimalakirti shows up, says what he's going to say, does what he's going to say, and then, oh, okay, then all those people obtain enlightenment, but not the person that he came to talk to.
So I think it's interesting to see that in the second paragraph, Vimalakirti answered, young men, you should cultivate yourselves intensively to conceive the spirit of unexcelled perfect enlightenment. He's not saying that, to me, he's not saying that I'm going to enlighten you, but they conceived the spirit of unexcelled perfect enlightenment, not that they became enlightened. I'm making a differentiation between conceiving of the spirit of enlightenment and actually becoming enlightened. But
so does what's his name? I can't even remember my 4 children's names, and so this is just beyond my grasping. So is this person? So does he also conceive the spirit of unexcelled perfect enlightenment, or had he already done that?
If I had to guess, I would say he had already done that. But that doesn't mean he was totally enlightened,
right,
for whatever reason. And it just means to me that Vimalakirti is saying you're not teaching it correctly. Not that you don't have it, but you're not teaching it correctly.
Okay. And so then this whole reluctance, to me, I think, is a little bit about them worrying that Vimalakirti is going to say, okay, did you change what you were doing? You changed the way you were teaching. Are you teaching it the right way now? I would think that might be part of their reluctance to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think about in my own life when I've been corrected or chastised or, in front of other people, been told that was wrong,
Yeah.
that feels shaming. And so, and then I'm not interested in going to check on the person that shamed me. I mean, that's just the reality of my life right now.
Yeah. Thank you. I get that too.
Later on, Vimalakirti talks about these different kinds of enlightenment, different stages of enlightenment. The whole bit on that. So, kind of a spoiler alert.
That's okay. We'll look forward to that.
I also just looked up the definition of unexcelled, since I seem to be really struggling with the un and non word. And so it just came up with matchless. So that fit better for me. Okay. Vimalakirti answered, young men, you should cultivate yourself intensively to conceive the spirit of unexcelled, perfect enlightenment, that in itself will be your renunciation and high ordination. Thereupon, 32 of the Lachavi youths conceived the spirit of the unexcelled, perfect enlightenment. Therefore, Lord, I am reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness. The Buddha then said to the venerable Ananda, Ananda, go to Lachavi Vimalakirti to inquire about his illness. Ananda replied, Lord, I am indeed reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness. Why? Lord, I remember one day when the body of the Lord manifested some indisposition and he required some milk. I took the bowl and went to the door of the mansion of the great Brahma family. The Lachavi Vimalakirti came there and, having saluted me, said, Reverend Ananda, what are you doing on the threshold of this house with your bowl in your hand so early in the morning?
I replied, the body of the Lord manifests some indisposition, and he needs some milk. Therefore, I have come to fetch some. Vimalakirti then said to me, Reverend Ananda, do not say such a thing. Reverend Ananda, the body of the Tathagata is tough as a diamond, having eliminated all the instinctual traces of evil and being endowed with all goodness. How could disease or discomfort affect such a body? Reverend Ananda, go in silence and do not belittle the Lord. Do not say such things to others. It would not be good for the powerful gods or for the Bodhisattvas come from the various Buddha fields to hear such words.
Reverend Ananda, a universal monarch, who is endowed only with the small root of virtue, is free of diseases. How then could the Lord, who has an infinite root of virtue, have any disease? It is impossible. Reverend Ananda, do not bring shame upon us, but go in silence, lest the outsider sectarians should hear your words. They would say, for shame, the teacher of these people cannot even cure his own sicknesses. How then can he cure the sicknesses of others? Reverend Ananda, go then discreetly, so that no one observes you. Reverend Ananda, the Tathagatas have the body of the Dharma, not a body that is sustained by material food. The Tathagatas have a transcendental body that has transcended all mundane qualities. There is no inquiry to the body of a Tathagata, as it is rid of all defilements. The body of a Tathagata is uncompounded and free of all formative activity. Reverend Ananda, to believe there can be illness in such a body is irrational and unseemly.
When I heard these words, I wondered if I had previously misheard and misunderstood the Buddha, and I was very much ashamed. Then I heard a voice from the sky. Ananda, the householder speaks to you truly. Nevertheless, since the Buddha has appeared during the time of the 5 corruptions, he disciplines living beings, by acting lowly and humble. Therefore, Ananda, do not be ashamed and go get the milk. Lord, such was my conversation with the Kavi Vimalakirti, and therefore I am reluctant to go to the good man to inquire about his illness. In the same way, the rest of the 500 disciples were reluctant to go to the Lakavi Vimalakirti, and each told the Buddha his own adventure, recounting all his conversations with the Lakavi Vimalakirti.
Then the Buddha said to the Bodhisattva Maitreya, Maitreya, go to the Lashavi Vimalakirti to inquire about his illness. Maitreya replied, Lord, I am indeed reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness. Why? Lord, I remember that one day I was engaged in a conversation with the gods of the Tushita heaven, the god Sam Tushita and his retinue, about the stage of non-regression of the great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Lashavi Vimalakirti came there and addressed me as follows. Maitreya, the Buddha has prophesied that only one more birth stands between you and unexcelled perfect enlightenment. What kind of birth does this prophecy concern, Maitreya? Is it past? Is it future? Or is it present? If it is a past birth, it's already finished. If it's a future birth, it will never arrive. If it's a present birth, it does not abide. For the Buddha has declared, bhikshus, in a single moment, you are born, you age, you die, you transmigrate, and you're reborn. Then might the prophecy concern birthlessness, but birthlessness applies to the stage of destiny for the ultimate, in which there is neither prophecy nor attainment of perfect enlightenment.
Therefore, Maitreya, is your reality from birth or is it from cessation? Your reality is prophesied. As prophesied is not born and does not cease, nor will it be born, nor will it cease. Furthermore, your reality is just the same as the reality of all living beings, the reality of all things, and the reality of all the holy ones. If your enlightenment can be prophesied in such a way, so can that of all living beings. Why? Because reality does not consist of duality or of diversity. Maitreya, whenever you attain Buddhahood, which is the perfection of enlightenment, at the same time, all living beings will also attain Buddhahood. Why? Enlightenment consists of the realizations of all living beings. Maitreya, at the moment when you attain ultimate liberation, all living beings will also attain ultimate liberation. Why? The Tathagatas do not enter ultimate liberation until all living beings have entered ultimate liberation. For, since all living beings are utterly liberated, the Tathagatas see them as having the nature of ultimate liberation.
Therefore, Maitreya, do not fool and delude these deities. No one abides in or regresses from enlightenment. Maitreya, you should introduce these deities to the
Repudiation.
Repudiation.
thank you, of all discriminative constructions concerning enlightenment. Enlightenment is perfectly realized either by the body, not by the mind. Enlightenment is the education of all marks. Enlightenment is free of presumptions concerning all objects. Enlightenment is free of the functioning of all intentional thoughts. Enlightenment is the annihilation of all convictions. Enlightenment is free from discriminative construction. Enlightenment is free from all vacillation.
Vacillation.
Thank you. Mention and
Agitation.
thank you. I don't know what's wrong with me tonight, but thank you. I appreciate it. Enlightenment is not involved in any commitments. Enlightenment is the arrival at detachment through freedom from all habitual attitudes. The ground of enlightenment is the ultimate realm. Enlightenment is realization of reality. Enlightenment abides at the reality limit. Enlightenment is without duality, since therein are no minds, no things. Enlightenment is is equity, since it is equal to infinitive space. Qualities.
Enlightenment is unconstructed because it is neither born nor destroyed, neither abides nor undergoes any transformation. Enlightenment is the complete knowledge of the thoughts, deeds, and inclinations of all living beings. Enlightenment is not a door for the sense media. Enlightenment is unadulterated, since it is free of the passions of the instinctually driven successions of lives. Enlightenment is neither somewhere nor nowhere, abiding in no location or dimension. Enlightenment, not being contained in anything, does not stand in reality. Enlightenment is merely a name, and even that name is motionless. Enlightenment, free of abstention and undertaking, is energyless. There is no agitation in enlightenment, as it is utterly pure by nature. Enlightenment is radiance, pure in essence. Enlightenment is without subjectivity and completely without object. Enlightenment, which penetrates the equality of all things, is undifferentiated. Enlightenment, which is not shown by any example, is incomparable. Enlightenment is subtle, since it is extremely difficult to realize. Enlightenment is all pervasive, as it has the nature of infinite space. Enlightenment cannot be realized either physically or mentally. Why? The body is like grass, trees, walls, paths, and optical illusions. And the mind is immaterial, invisible, baseless, and unconscious. Lord, when Vimalakirti had discoursed thus, 200 of the deities in that assembly attained the tolerance of the birthlessness of things. As for me, Lord, I was rendered speechless. Therefore, I am reluctant to go to that good man to inquire about his illness.
Are we going to read 500 of these?
Yeah, really. I don't think so. I don't know, though. I'm not sure.
But now we know what enlightenment is.
Right.
Or isn't.
Yeah.
Or what is not. Yeah, what is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. How much further is this section, Kim? Because we just have about 2 more minutes before 8. It goes on and on. Well, let's go ahead and stop where we stopped.
Which is where?
Keep going up. Keep going up. Are going back. Okay, the Buddhas then said to the young Lichavi, Prahava Yuha, Havyuha, Prahavyuha. So that's where we're stopping for today.
I can start out. Mine's as convoluted as what we read, I think. Let's see. We have a second. I have to. This. Okay. I find myself inside one of my favorite Harry Belafonte songs, with part of the refrain being, and the confusion made me brain go round. What I notice most is that no matter who is teaching what, Vimalakirti comes and says, why are you teaching X this way? The reality is that X is really my way. Oh, but reality is not real except when it is. So you need to stop teaching the way you are teaching and teach what I say. And then somehow a bunch of people in the crowd understand what Vimalakirti is saying and move on to the next great place. But whomever is teaching does not seem to benefit from this teaching. Why don't they have some revelation that, oh, this is what it is, what it means, and I should convey that, and should convey it that way? And Vimalakirti does not seem to want to help the teachers and goes on to annoy the next person. I don't see that any great progress is made in conveying anything to anyone. Or is that the lesson? Those who get it, and those who don't will keep grasping at the next great thing. I understand why no one wants to check on Vimalakirti. What I want to know is why Buddha doesn't want to go. Or are he and Vimalakirti conspiring together to teach yet another great lesson? And if Vimalakirti is really very ill, by the time the Buddha has asked everyone to go, Vimalakirti may be dead, and so won't need visitors anymore. Or is that the lesson? Is it vitally important that everyone know what they all have, that they all have similar experiences with Vimalakirti? I wonder.
That was great. You already said mine for me.
Thank you.
Anyone else willing to step in? The audio pool.
Mine's about 7 sentences long. I don't think I had a lot of understanding tonight, although I did copy paste the part about enlightenment into my document. For class 11, I can only tell you what it is not. Every sentence that begins with "what about me?" Irreproachable equaling beyond criticism, and all the other non and un words that could have just been written clearly. And I wonder if that's about translation or intention. Reverend Ananda, a universal monarch. I immediately pictured him as a butterfly. Tathagatas have a transcendental body, sit as Buddha's body, not as karmic body. Yet we are both, always both. Where is the non-dualism in this? Ananda eventually gets to go get the milk. WTF. Is reality our physicalness? Our birth in this body? Question. Or is reality incorporating but not ruled by our physical nature? Understood by not grasping personal desires and unconstructed thoughts. And constructed thoughts, not unconstructed. We're only doing clear things. We can't do it alone. Only if everybody does it. Even one can pull us all down into the reactionary frame of mind. That invitation is very, very strong. Enlightenment is unconstructed because it is neither born or destroyed. And then I copied the whole paragraph about enlightenment is perfectly realized neither by the body nor by the mind. So I didn't get much today. Or maybe I got a whole lot and it was just in a small amount.
I think I should follow you. It feels as if the writer of this sutra is a magician, making us look any which way so we don't see the trick of wisdom hidden in plain view, hidden in the metaphors, hidden in the no, not, none. Will we obtain the wisdom of enlightenment hidden in the reality that is just an illusion?
Shame is the space between the stones across a fast-flowing river. Shame cleaves a hesitation, a doubting of a perfect bridge of legs and feet and hands. Shame creeps in a blurry darkness, bubbles in on a salted sting, streams down the cheeks. Shame is the slime on the rock that makes the foot afraid to gamble on a path. Shame is the coin mid-flip, the slap of the hand that lingers much too long. The hand that covers a mouth boiling with admissions. Shame tries too hard, thinks it's the dam that stops the wind and water from joining in the gyre, from ridding worlds of garbage. Shame loves a sagging floor, crumbling drywall, weakened beams. It limps like mildew, adores a moistened silence. It offers no embrace, it slithers and it clutches hard. And yet shame is a thing easily escaped. When someone outside or something within extends two hands, lights a flame, announces in the gloomy silence, "Over here, my friend, this way."
Thank you, Emily.
So I just wrote, there is an unrelenting koan style sense of humor about these discourses, where all things apprehended are illusions, and each illusion cannot be truly, fully apprehended.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to share? We have another 5 minutes. Another 5 minutes. pipeline.
Well, as I hear your beautiful writing, I'm remembering a book that I read about 50 or 60 years ago called Teacher by Sylvia Ashley Warner. And somehow it all came back. And she was a teacher in New Zealand, and the school didn't have any books. So the students wrote the books. And I'm just thinking how great that would be. In Death and Practice, we write the books as opposed to reading them, and then read them, and we would build our whole library. So I'm kind of stuck on this koan I've been working on, and I'll share the drawing. So I made a drawing of it, and I don't know how this relates to what we were reading, but so this is my first attempt. Yeah, I think yesterday, where this moo was stuck inside, and it became like this hard mass in my body that I couldn't get rid of. So that's where the X-lax comes in. And then today I decided this is so silly to put it inside where it's like this big giant cloud. And then when I started drawing, I realized it was raining moo, and I was just inside and it was so happy feeling the raindrops all over me. So that's where I went. But this idea that we don't have to put things inside, we can be inside them. So the stuff we're talking about is just so much bigger than we are, and you kind of kill it putting it inside where you can just bathe in it.
I like that image.
I do too, and I think that maybe that way we will absorb it through osmosis.
Yeah. And you know that song, Rain, that's what I put at the bottom, Raindrops Are Falling.
Yeah. Oh, I love that song.
Yeah.
Love the idea of osmosis instead of comprehension.
Me too. Me too. I can deal with that.
Right. Just lean back.
It just feels like if we're in a class where we're learning how to dance or how to do something that we don't know, and the teacher is sit up, straight your back, lift the leg, and everything. We're really trying, but yeah, nothing we do is right, or we understand why in the world do we have to do that. Ah.
So I wrote just one sentence, and it was to myself. Don't be caught figuring things out.
I love
I
it.
like that.
We should make buttons.
Or t-shirts, yes.
Yeah.
I like the idea of button.
Don't be caught figuring things out.
That should be a motto.
Yeah, I want to quote that.
Mm-hmm.
Bumper sticker. I don't any. We're thinking of we're doing some of us the Austin Pride Festival, and we're thinking of what we could be giving out.
Mm,
That might work.
yeah. Well, if no one else has anything they wanted to say or show, I think that's it for this evening. So until next week, next Monday.
And are we on page 129? Where did we stop?
Well, I wrote down 128. The Buddha said to the young LP.
Okay.
All right. Maybe it'll get more understandable. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck
We
with that
can hope.
fantasy.
Maybe someone will be brave.
Hala.
And thanks, John, for joining us. I enjoyed hearing your voice.
Yeah.
Thank you for
That
having
was
me.
nice, John.
And I love your
Come back.
shirt too.
Thank you.
Bad religion.
That would be a great thing for everyone to be wearing at our gay pride
Yikes.
festival. Bad religion.
That would be great. But I'm still
Alright.
thinking about t-shirts. Don't be caught trying to figure things out.
T-shirts, yeah. T-shirts
Yeah.
is
I think
all
I like that.
right.
good quote for pride too.
It really.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank
Thanks,
you
See you
all.
everyone.
See you
guys.
next
Good to
week.
see you.